So the question, this question is that if you miss your sunnahs, what do you do? So the answer is that, there isn't a consistent answer actually. If you miss the 2 rakats of, first and foremost, Fajr, you should try your best to pray them. But they are the most emphasized sunnahs. The Prophet ﷺ said, pray them even if you are at risk of being trampled by horses, pray the 2 rakats of Fajr, just to show how important they are. So for that reason, you should try your best to pray your Fajr. However, the time after Fajr is makruh time. So when you pray your fard of Fajr, between your fard and your and sunrise, between you having performed the fard and sunrise, it's makruh to perform any nawafil. So because of that, the fuqaha have said that the Fajr sunnah, if you miss it, then you perform it after sunrise. You make it up after sunrise, right? And some fuqaha have said, no, you can perform it straight after the fard. So there's a slight variation in practice there. So if you're staying up, do it after the sunrise, otherwise do it straight after. Now moving on to, and normally you're not going to miss the Fajr one, because people usually miss their sunnah because the other don't have time. So you'll miss the Fajr one because you're running out of time. You woke up late, right? In which case you're not going to have time to pray afterwards anyway. You're going to have to pray it later. So Fajr one is recommended that you pray after sunrise because of the extra emphasis on the Fajr sunnah. Right? I hope that scenario makes sense. Because if you've woken up with enough time, why would you miss it? The only other time that you'd miss it is if it was the jama'ah. If you were in the masjid and it was a jama'ah. And even then, according to Abu Hanifa, for example, because of the emphasis of the sunnah, it's recommended that you pray it as long as you can catch even a little part of the fard. That you should still try to perform the 2 rakats before the fard. Okay. Dhuhr. If you, to catch the jama'ah, if you've missed, for example, the 4 of Dhuhr, again, if you have time, you should pray them, because they emphasize sunan. You should pray them. But if something was the problem and there wasn't any time and so on and so forth, all the rest of the sunan of the day, you don't make them up once the time goes. If the time has gone, you don't make them up. There's no need to make them up. You just make istighfar, you try to improve the next day and make sure you make time for your sunan. Does that make sense? You don't make them up after the time has passed. There is no qada of sunan. Generally, as a principle, there is no qada of sunan, except Fajr, some fuqaha make an exception with it. Alright, because just to show that we have taken heed of the emphasis that the Prophet ﷺ has given to those 2 rakats. But otherwise, there's no qada of sunnahs. You don't make them up outside of their time. However, if, let's just say, in order to catch the fard in jama'ah, you didn't pray the 4 of dhuhr, you can make them up afterwards. Alright? There's different views about in which order to do them, but the best way to do it is to do the fard, then do the 2 after, and then do 4. As in, make up the 4. Or if you, for whatever reason, you didn't do it, you should as long as there's still time, up until Asr time, you should make them up. Okay? Up until Asr time. If you missed the 4 of Asr, you don't make them up after. The sunnah ghair mu'akkada anyway. And in Asr time, after you've done the fard, there's no nafal. Alright, please take heed of this. Bit of a long question, unfortunately. So, Asr, you've prayed your fard, you've missed the sunnah, you don't make them up at all. Alright? Because it's makruh to pray any nafil, as in any optional prayers, after you've done the fard of Asr. It's makruh to do it. Maghrib, there's no making up outside of the prayer time, as I've mentioned, and the other sunan of Maghrib are after. Anyway, after Maghrib. And Isha, same principle. But Isha, the 4 before, if you miss them, if you want to, you can make them up after. That's if you want to. Asr, even if you want to, you shouldn't. The 4 of Asr before, even if you want to make them up after the fard, you shouldn't. However, Isha, you've missed them. If you want to, you can make them up. Because after Isha, there's no makruh time. You can pray as much salah as you want. Right? Inshallah. Right, I hope that makes sense.